Naked and Broke. Welcome back. Today I have a pretty exciting one. One I've been looking forward to. Calligrapher, a letterer, and an abstract artist. She's also an IG homie of mine. We go back and forth. Top it up. Chloe Joy. Welcome to the show, Chloe.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited.
I have to say, I really love your penmanship. Just like seeing your work on the gram, like the calligraphy stuff, it's so elegant and beautiful. I just like watching the video. I kind of like that because I feel like as an artist, for me, that's something I'm lacking. It's the penmanship, so it's always nice and elegant to see other artists who have other skills in lettering that you could appreciate. But I also really appreciate seeing your abstract paintings as well. Like those like process videos or like mixing of the paint and stuff.
Thank you. Yeah, they're super relaxing. Like, I mean, I do it mostly for me, those ones, but then everyone else enjoy it too. I'm like, I just need to chill.
Yeah, that's I feel the same way because most of what I do is mostly for my own enjoyment. And then when I share it, people gravitate towards it. So that was how I started to build momentum on things that I posted. Was mainly it started with stuff that I would, stuff that I like.
Yeah, 100%. I feel like people can tell when you're starting to like, I don't know, copy someone else's, or you're not being true to your style. I mean, it's totally fine, I think, and so normal to like try other styles and experiment, but I think when you're not being yourself, then I think people can tell.
I think when whatever it is you're doing, if it's not coming from a genuine place, it's really hard for people to kind of gravitate towards it in the long run. In the moment, you might get some action, it might create some friction, but in terms of longevity and how people would take it in and even just want to share it with friends or family or coworkers, it has to come from a genuine place. But speaking of that, and lettering and painting, abstract painting, I guess. Which one came first?
So I'd say actually lettering. It started a couple of years ago when I think, like when Etsy was becoming all the rage. And I wanted to buy like a lettered quote or something, but I think it was like from America, coming from where you guys are. And I think shipping was like, I don't know, triple the price of the actual product back at, I think it was 6 years ago, 6 or 7. And so I just grabbed a like paint by number brush, those ones that comes with those kid books. And then, just started lettering. And I was like, I thought it's so funny because my mum still has like my first few lettering art pieces up on the wall. I'm like, oh my goodness, Mum, take it down. She's like, no, it's about the process. Like, remember where you're from. I'm like, oh my gosh. But it is good. It's so good to see like your progress, because I think, you can beat yourself up and think, I haven't, done anything. But then you look back, you're like, oh, okay.
Yeah, definitely. It's important to always kind of reflect on a lot of where you've kind of came from, but also because I feel like for me, a good portion of how I was building was about thinking about where I'm going, and until I think I would say maybe 2020 was that moment that kind of we all had to really look back at the last 5 years and see all the plans and dreams and aspirations and things that was written down. Some of them wasn't, that came along just on the journey, and reflecting on those was super inspirational, because you kind of realize in a sense you became this kind of superhero for yourself, and went out to build these things. So it's important to reflect on that.
I think 2020 really showed people what we're made of, and like these things, you know, they either break you or they break you open, you know, like
Right.
it can go either way, and you've got to choose whether this will be like, you know, like a seed or whatever needs to be broken open to actually become something bigger than itself. And yeah, I think it's like you've either got to embrace challenges, or you'll just keep running from them and keep running from yourself, really.
Yes. It's kind of like I don't know if you heard the definition for fear. Um, Face everything and rise.
Everything.
Face everything and run.
Yeah.
Um,
My dad loves that one. My dad like is an avid quoter of that one.
Because it's a good one, you know. It's a little
It's so
bit, but
true.
it's very good. And especially if you understand it, and I feel like a lot of that understanding that quote comes with understanding the process of what you're doing. So once you tap into what you're doing and who you are, and especially the journey as we were talking about, with you know what goals and things you've written down and where you're trying to take it, it makes so much sense because you realize fear is nothing more than, you know, like an emotion, you know, sad, happiness. And it only becomes a bigger thing once you tap in on that emotion and decide to expand on it. So once you realize that, you kind of understand, well, I was feeling, you know, maybe I wasn't feeling inspired this morning, or I was feeling motivated 2 hours ago, but now I'm feeling, you know, anxiety and fear. But it is a mindset. So once you understand that, you could tap in to say, oh, I could, you know, what activities and things that bring me, you know, joy or you know, happiness that I could in this moment,
so true.
You know, put into play that could get me out of this emotional state. But yeah, fear is something that, you know, I kind of push forward on mine just personally because there's a lot of things I want to do, but this, you know, fear, like everyone else, was always, you know, at the core of it. So for me, that was something I had to like attack head on. Just you know, it's like the head of the snake or the body of the snake kind of thing. So for me, I had to go for that, you know, the head of the snake and attack it head on. And over the years, I built a lot of like competence in what I do, and just through like, you know, repetition of you know, certain things.
Yeah, and it's so important to use repetition even in our mental battles, you know, like, because I think we often think, oh, like I've conquered that, you know, that fear, but like, you know, thoughts of, especially to do with imposter syndrome, I'm sure you understand, you know, that fear as well, like of, you know, when are people going to find out that I'm just, you know, I'm just winging it and I'm just faking it? Like, is it going to be the next time? And like, honestly, it would have me like literally like I'd curl back up into bed some days and be like halfway doing my work and be like, I literally, like, why am I even doing this, you know? Like, and yeah, I think in life everything is either driven by fear or by love, and you've got to just choose.
Yeah.
You know, like, let perfect love cast out fear. That's like my favorite thing to write. But it's honestly, it's perfect love casts out fear. And I know I'm listening to the voice of fear when, you know, I'm anxious and when I'm believing those lies. And it's like, no, like when there's perfect love, there's deep peace and trust. And it's like, I'm not what I create, you know, like like I don't have to trust in my next outcome. Like I trust in perfect love. And yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, I feel like that's kind of relatable as well, especially with imposter syndrome or procrastination and things like that. But what you said about, you know, days that you feel like, you know, you're not yourself and kind of stuck in bed, what practices do you put into play, or maybe meditation or something, music, play that help you kind of get out of that
Actually, there was this one time I did this thing, and I actually need to do it again. And now I'm like, that was actually so effective. I actually switched on my camera on my phone and I started videoing myself, and I was like, Chloe, I know you're feeling like you're not good enough and you feel this way often, but I just want to remind you, like, yeah. And I just started reminding myself of truth and how loved I was regardless, like, of anything else I ever do. And by the end of it, I was just smiling and laughing, and I was like, okay, let's go, like, we can do this. But yeah, another thing is obviously getting some food, because sometimes you know, you're probably hangry, or like just doing some push-ups or something, getting some movement in, or just a change of scenery, like, you know, it's so good, like getting some fresh air, just getting some fresh perspective, because, you know, as we all know, staring at a screen or something for too long just does your head in. And
yeah, that is true. With creatives, we tend to, whether you're, you know, you're someone who sketch a lot, or you know, work on the computer a lot of the creative process is up here in the head. And so a lot of our time, even when we're in the creative process of designing or you know, whatever other creativity that you do, it's, you get stuck in the mind frame of, you know, I got to power through and get through. But in the reality, when you get to that creative block, at times you might just, like you're saying, you might just need to do a few push-ups, or walk, or you know, go grab something to eat. You know, that
or
usually
talk to a friend.
Oh yeah, definitely.
And laugh at something. Yeah, like, I think it's all about, you know, like, tension and release, just like music, you know what I mean? Like, there's always you've got to have releases, and often that does come in the form of creativity. But yeah, like I said, doing push-ups, but also mental push-ups, you know, it's like, I think you guys were saying that. Yes, I took that from your, I was like, whoa,
that was so awesome.
Oh, that was so helpful.
When you sent me that image of the notes, that was so awesome looking at it, because I was remembering when I had sat down and wrote that entire that episode out, and your notes very similar to mine. So that was the part. I was like, that's really cool. That's really awesome.
Yeah, no, that was so helpful. So thank you. But yeah, I think as well, like, in creating, I was listening to like a Seth Roden podcast. I don't know if you've heard of him, but he was just saying, like, it's a choice. But he's like, you know, all of us at one time of our life, at one point, have told a funny joke or found a solution to a problem. Like, we all have a choice to create, you know, whether it's with our words or with creating, you know, a home for people to come in, or space for someone to be listened to. But I think especially with that, like, you know, with drawing and with painting, it's like consistency. And even yesterday I was rushing out the door and I was like, I am going to sketch something for 10 seconds, and I'm going to journal for 10 seconds. And it was like, wow, that was easy. Like, you can do that, you know, I can do 10 seconds.
Yeah, that's something I have to, like, remind myself at times, because like, sometimes you also brought up, like, you know, calling a friend when you're feeling stuck. That's usually my go-to, because I don't really get to chat with the homies on a regular basis as I would like to. And plus, as a creative, my schedule is, you know, all over. And most of my friends who aren't creatives tend to have a, you know, a job type schedule. And so whenever I could catch them, usually on a phone call, and usually we tap in on our week or month, or happenings and things. I always feel like that is kind of helpful, in the sense to just kind of break the pattern, whatever it is you're doing.
And just saying, like, out loud the lie that you're listening to, you know, to someone else. Just and that itself can really break that power. Because
sometimes all you really need to do is just hear your own voice out loud, and it's not really, you aren't relying on the person's opinion or their response. It's just, you just need to hear yourself kind of narrate the story in your head. But
and singing as well. So like it activates like your ventral vagal nervous system. I don't know if you've heard about that, but it like,
no, I didn't know about that. But please speak.
yeah, but actually like that, I hope I get the terms right, but the ventral vagal nervous system like regulates your body so that it breathes optimally and digests optimally. And so things like, you know, singing and even gargling and, you know, movement actually activate it and helps your body to calm down.
Awesome. Nah, I didn't know that. But I guess I do sing a lot in the studio, so
Oh,
I guess I've been
nice.
doing something right. Speaking of
What
song,
have you been, yeah, what have you been singing right now? Like what did you wake up? You know, sometimes you wake up with a song in your head. What did you wake up with?
what did I wake up with today? I woke up and I threw on as an artist called CEO at business.net. It's awesome. And
Okay.
I was bumping what is it called? One is Hot Mess, which is awesome. It's like an instrumental, but a beat type music. And what was the other one? The other one was Buttercup. It's from this album 2020. But I just like how he's like a non-traditional musician. Even like the name CEO at business.net. But that was this morning, and then some West Coast rap music. An artist called Les, LES, but the S is like a dollar sign. So listening to.
Okay, I'm looking these up now.
But if I had to, like on a day where I have to, you know, get in sync or, you know, get into my mood or whatever, my usually go to is Sir Bobby Marley or Tom Kennedy, who's a rapper, or Larry June, who's another rapper. But these people are mostly, when I listen to them, it's because they kind of stimulate the mind and they talk about issues and, you know, either like societal issues or historical events, and or, you know, even just like self improvement, but even just like life lessons or that experience that they document in that music. It's what I listen to, and I see like the parallels in my work. So for me, it kind of helps when I work. But outside of that, there's some other things that you know, everyone else listens to. But when it comes to the work setting, I try to curate the environment, even the space, the time of day, and all of that. Even down to the food I'm eating.
Yeah, wow. Do you have an outfit as well that you like? You put on?
I don't have a work outfit, but I do dress up on, you know, on days, you know, because I treat it like a job. It is a job. The only time I don't actually look good is when I'm actually on the actual job on site, because, you know, I'm painting and I look like a painter.
In your jumpsuit.
Yeah.
Hey, that's legit. I look at someone in a jumpsuit painting and I'm like, yeah.
Right? It's like a construction worker. So official. But speaking of songs, what were your go-to artists or musicians?
Oh, okay. So I'm going through now. I feel like I always freeze up when people ask me, because I'm like, it literally goes from like, I don't know, from like Maggie Rogers to like Jacob Banks to, you know, I love like, what's it called? Like, I wouldn't say it's like EDM, but kind of. So like, it honestly just depends. Yeah, or like I was listening to Stephanie Gertzinger's album this morning. Been listening to this girl. Oh my gosh, there's this song called Golf on TV by this girl called Lennon Stella. But anyway, the lyrics are so funny, but it's like the most beautiful song, like lyrically and chords and the harmonies in it. But the words are like, it's talking about like how she's finally in like a relationship that's like steady and healthy, and the chorus goes like, some people want to switch it up, like just one love is isn't enough. And it's like a ballad, like it sounds very serious. And then the next line goes, and some people watch golf on TV, and neither of those things make sense to me. And it cracks me up because it's so true. I feel like when the golf is on TV, it reminds me of like when you've had a nap during summer as a kid and you wake up and like everyone's left the living room and they're all outside playing, but the golf is on TV and there's just the ball on the green rolling on its own. You're like what is going on right now? Like, yeah. And you hear the clapping like quietly and you're like, Mom, Dad?
That's funny.
Yeah.
If you have to describe yourself or describe your feeling in weather forecasts, what would it be? Sunny, cloudy, et cetera.
I'd say I'm mostly a pretty sunny person. I wasn't always. But I do live in the Sunshine State in Australia, in Queensland. So it actually helps your mood so much. But yeah, I think to be honest, growing up, I think I used to have like, and I think I still do, I have that, you know, like that sort of rainy day thinking. But I think it's so good to be in touch with I wouldn't say like the darkness, but with pain, like having a healthy relationship with pain, because I think, you know, we can run from pain for so long thinking it's bad, but it's actually just there to tell us something. And, you know, once we listen, it's only going to visit for a little while. It's not, like you said, like it's temporal.
Yeah.
So I think it's, you know, like we do need the 4 seasons. I would say, yeah, I'm mostly like a sunshiny person, but we do need the 4 seasons of life to grow and to,
Definitely.
You know, to lay dormant. Gotta lay dormant sometimes. I think especially if you're an artist, like you've got to go quiet for a little while and lay dormant so that you can be still and listen to what you're really saying.
Yeah.
And what you want to say, because there's so many voices these days.
Yep, there is so many voices, so many platforms, so many influencers,
very true,
and creators.
Yeah.
So it's hard for you to. I feel like if you're consuming so much of what's out there, you rarely consume any of yourself. So that you don't know necessarily who you are, and even in times of whether you're feeling, you know, cloudy or sunny or what it is, understanding how you feel in that moment and not necessarily carrying around the emotional baggage of, you know, other people's stress that maybe you consume in TV or saw in a magazine or, you know, any other things that's not yours. That because I feel like a lot of quote unquote pain that you're speaking to, a lot of it is mental and not much physical, because it's more of your consciousness trying to let you know you're supposed to be doing X, Y, and Z, but you're doing this, and eternally you feel that you know I'm supposed to be doing this, but maybe it's fear or it's, you know, anxiety or anything else that's holding you back, but internally you know I'm supposed to be doing this. The reason why I feel this way is because I'm not doing.
Yeah. Oh, you're hitting me right where it hurts. Because I know for me, like often if I'm on Instagram late, just scrolling for hours, I'm numbing myself, and I'm like, I know that what I really need to do is go quiet and just write, or you know, or talk to God, or listen, you know, talk to a friend, like, but then, you know, like sometimes I'm like, nah, well, I just want to ignore it right now.
Yeah, because in the moment, a lot of people don't realize, just like, you know, chatting or talking or like you were saying, having a moment to release and replenish. There's another thing called solitude, and a lot of people don't realize
Yeah.
that's an actual thing that everyone needs.
Yeah. So true.
On a
I
day.
only learnt solitude. Oh, sorry.
Nah, go ahead.
When did when did you learn solitude? Because I only learnt how to be by myself, like maybe, I don't know, 4 years ago, and now I'm like, oh, I love
Yeah,
Saturday night. It's me, myself, and I, and just chilling at home.
yeah. I would say like for me, I grew up with my grandmother, and I was like the youngest, and that was always, in a sense, was always kind of to the side. But being the youngest, you're always amongst it all because you have that luxury of doing extra, quote unquote, and not and getting away with it. So for me, I would say I would say like
Oh, I know. I'm the second oldest of 9 and the youngest. Yeah. My parents are like in grandparent mode with him.
yeah,
No,
you know how it goes. But yeah, I would say it started with that, but the real answer for me was when I was in college. I went to college. I went to school for soccer and art, and I
cool.
remember soccer was, at the time, soccer and art went hand in hand. It was it was a 50-50, I guess, thing that it could have been either or. Even though soccer, I had a lot of injuries. Probably good. I've broken a lot of bones and injured
Oh my god.
a lot of body parts. But it's such a beautiful sport. If you love the sport, you love it, and
Yeah.
it's such a beautiful sport. And
Mm-hmm.
that's something I played since I was a kid, and so playing in college was a dream. And I remember just chatting with my mentor, and he was telling me the reality of it is you can't really half-ass anything. You got to make a decision between soccer and art, or
Well,
soccer and design. And I remember at the time I was like a sophomore, and it was such a hard thing to do. And until fast forward my senior year, finally dropped soccer. And part of the decision was not 100% up to me. It was like injuries and other things that eventually forced me to make that decision. But what came out of that was the focus level on art and the doors and connection and networks that open up, just because I was so focused on what I was doing, and I wasn't
wow.
I wasn't spreading myself thin as far as what I was giving my focus, my time, and attention to.
Wow.
And that really helped me a lot in terms of just finding my lane. But in terms of solitude, what was the breaking point for me was I remember one particular weekend, and usually you have to week their plans, and being on a sports team in college, that's a guarantee you there's some sort of happenings that you're going to be at, some sort of function at the weekend.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, it's like being on a sports team is usually what the soccer guys doing on the weekend. That's everyone already knows that. If the soccer team isn't doing anything, what are the soccer girls doing on that weekend, or the other sports, lacrosse, basketball, whatever. So all of the sports you got to go through, get you played for the weekend. So for me, that was the hardest thing, because all my friends were. I had design friends, but I didn't necessarily hang out with them on the weekends as much.
Yeah.
So for me, that was the hardest thing, was really working on design, knowing that now that this might be what I'm doing post college, or
Mm-hmm.
and quote unquote looking at them as temporary pleasures. And so like for me, I remember one particular weekend where I committed to just staying in for the entire weekend and just working. And I remember it sucked, just like 72 hours by yourself. And that weekend was intentional, because it was like I think it's like a 4 weekend or something. It's like a full week, 4 days weekend. And I was like, okay, I'm not going to go back to Philly. I'm going to just stay here and, just kind of see what happens. And the first day was nice because there was still some people on campus and I could talk to them. But after like day 2, it was not as fun. But I remember just at night I would be working out and like my phone is right there and I could just text a friend or call someone and get an Uber and go over. And it was so tempting to want to do that. But I stuck it out, and I remember what I got out of that was just like, and obviously with time, but what I got out of that was just like the ability to tap into, the ability to understand where I'm at in the moment, the ability to check in with my emotions, because those are always valid, and say, okay, this is where we at, this is where we need to be, and this is the amount of work that needs to take place in the moment, regardless of how we feel emotionally. So that practice helped me in terms of when it comes down to getting done what needs to get done. That was kind of a long answer, but I hope it kind of helps, because all of that that come together.
I think you're not alone in that, because it's you're not alone in feeling alone. That's what I'm trying to say, because
absolutely
it like I was saying to friends the past few weeks, like I actually just feel so alone. Like I feel like I just sit at home and I'm like, oh, what am I doing sometimes? So it's so helpful to have those friends around you, to build a community around you, like yourself, even across the world, but like that actually get it, that it's like, no, yes, you might be sitting at home working, but there's other people around the world like you, and we can all encourage each other. But I saw this quote the other day, and it was like, conquer yourself, conquer anybody. And it's just exactly what you're saying. Like, it's amazing that you had that mental strength to not go out with your friends, especially as in being in college or uni, as we say here, because like
union,
it's that
in Australia.
University.
That sounds so proper.
University. Yeah, but it's like, it really is that instant gratification versus the future benefits of what you're sowing into, and you really do have to have like that focus. And I think even just knowing the season you're in, like, is it a time to like go and hang out with your friends and have fun and play around, or is it actually time to like to dig deep? And I feel like the last 3 months, so we're in spring now, you guys are in autumn.
I think we're like 2 or 3 days.
Okay, so are people getting their pumpkins out already?
People that's like a business move, so it's been out since like August. They've been selling August already.
My friend from school, shout out to Courtney, she used to say, "What's funkin' pumpkin?" I don't know why, it was always so funny. But anyway, so winter, like I wrote down like, okay, this is a season for me of like an arrow being pulled back, and so it's really a time of like focus and growing the business, because for me, like growing my art stream, because I work 2 other jobs, and art has sort of just been the like, whatever happens on the side business thing, I work on it, but it hasn't been the main thing. And I just really felt that click over, that shift to really focus. And so I describe it as like that arrow being pulled back. And I looked up like I got that image in my head when I was thinking about this season, and then I looked up, an arrow being pulled back, and they're called like the fledgings that make the arrow fly. And it says like, if even one is crooked, it won't hit its target at
Really?
all. And if one's missing, you know, like it won't fly.
Wow.
And so it is so essential to straighten out the crooked things, especially, you know, your crooked thinking, as we were saying,
Exactly.
which is mostly like it's ourselves getting in our own way.
Yeah, absolutely. And to your point,
and deal with it.
Yeah, definitely. And to your point about, you know, creatives kind of spending a lot of alone time, I was thinking about that the other day, and I think part of that it has to do with our minds are childlike, and and children, if you hang out with them, you know, they'll ask you like a million questions in a minute, and so I feel like as creatives, it's kind of the same way, whether we're working or whatever we're doing. So all these questions, and some of them we do answer them in our work, and some of them, you know, through our process and things get answered, but majority of them tend to go unanswered. And so it's important to connect with other artists, friends, or creative people who you could just kind of, you know, go back and forth with, just whether it's, you know, picking their brains or just having a conversation on a particular subject. But how important you think it is to have these heart-to-heart chat with friends and family, whether business or personal?
Oh, I think they're vital, because there's been countless times where I start processing with a close friend or with a family member, and you don't realize the depth of discouragement you've been in.
Right.
Yeah, you know, like hearing someone else say, you know, that is just absolute rubbish, and you think, oh no, I guess I've sort of almost become friends with this voice that's told me I suck for the past 10 years or whatever. It's like, yeah, I would never allow that.
And I don't mean to like inject right now, but going back to your analogy with the arrow, you know, those are the crooked things or crooked people that needs to be straightened out in order for you to, you know, hit your target. Yeah,
and you know that proverb that says iron sharpens iron, you know, like we sharpen each other, and we all have blind spots that we you know, we need pointing out. I mean, and if you're not open to that, then you can't grow.
I have that quote.
Sorry?
The first half of that quote, I have that in my personal bio on my Instagram, but it says, "A liberated mind never makes you feel confined. Iron sharpens iron."
Wow.
Yeah.
So cool.
One of my favorite quotes as well.
A liberated mind. Yeah.
Liberated mind never makes you feel confined.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Whoa, we need a beat for you to start rapping.
Well, that's from a rapper. It's not mine personal, but
okay.
That was why I gravitated towards it, because the second half of that was iron sharpens iron.
Okay.
And never in my circle is a weak mind. It's actually by Stolly. Stolly is a rapper over. I think he's a West Coast rapper. Yeah, but it's funny because with the U.S. it's like an East Coast, West Coast, and now everything tends to like merge. So it's not as intense no more. But in terms of like traditions and this lifestyle,
right.
I'm on the East Coast, you know, Philly, but I feel like as a person, my lifestyle is really a West Coast with, you know, the beach and, you know, the palm trees and all of that. So. Yeah,
that's me. West Coast represent. West Coast represent. Are you a California girl at heart?
Speaking of Cali, believe it or not, actually, it's funny that you said that. Cali was the dream. Cali was the destination out of college. And I had that opportunity to go out in the Bay Area in San Francisco because I had a job out there. So I was out there for a week, and I just remember it being like crazy expensive.
Oh, no.
Yeah, it was such a reality check because I was like, if I'm out here, even though the job is good and I'm getting paid probably 3 or 4 times what I would normally get paid in Philly coming out of college, it's still
Mhm.
a hassle because things are 3 times the price as they are, compared to Philly. And
Yeah.
I would go probably broke out here in 6 months. So also I had a job with or interview with Abercrombie and Fitch as well to go out there. So it was a lot of opportunities. And I was like, oh, Cali's.
Yeah.
And then I got there and I was like, wow, all this like fantasy and things, was actually, logistical things that need to come into play before it
Yeah.
becomes
Right.
reality. But yeah,
But aren't you so
always
glad you
yeah about Cali. I feel like it's more of a
went?
dream rather than if I'm there, I'm like, yeah, it's a place. But
Yeah.
I like how it sounds and how it feels in my head.
Yeah. I think it's so important though to yeah, like you have a dream and you go for it, and even if you find out that it's not what you actually want,
Yeah.
because you'll always be, left wondering.
Exactly.
But sorry, back to what you said, having conversations. Yeah, I think, and how important they are. It's funny because sometimes I'll be painting, and like some of my best paintings are when I'm like having this conversation with a friend and I'm not even thinking about what I'm doing, but it's like I'm processing to them and I'm processing on the canvas, and then I look down and I'm like, oh, thank you. I like that.
That's awesome.
Yeah, but we as humans, we crave connection, and that's why we, social media, it's the cheap fix often. There's definitely true connection on there to an extent, but we crave to be seen and known, and that's why like conversations, especially when you're struggling, are essential, because I think when you're isolated, and that's when the lies get louder, and
Right.
it starts to become your reality, but when you have people around you, they're like, that is not real, or it feels real, but let me help you see clearer, then yeah, it helps you so much. Like, they bring truth that sets you free from that, and whereas if you're alone, you just start to believe it and succumb to it.
Yeah, I feel like, for me, with those like hard conversations, whether with family or friends, my particular family is not necessarily, there's no one like design oriented in my family. So it's very, so like in terms of business, it's just like surface wise we talk about. So we don't go into like details. But family have always been supportive and things like that. My mom actually applied to my art high school for me because I was interested and I had my sights set on another high school, and she was like, "You're doing art," and so shout out to moms everywhere. I feel like moms have like that recognition of that spark, but then at times tend to get in the way because they're very hands on, like all mothers. But you got to appreciate them. But with me, that conversation for me is so important because even my friends who are so close, they know if I'm doing something, I'm serious about it, and that's just how I am because I'm very particular about my time, and it all comes from that isolation time and just spending time in solitude and understanding what was for me and what isn't for me. And when it comes to my time, I'm very protective of what I allow to take it up. Just like like we were speaking earlier, my days are really full today, and so just like thinking about stuff like that, I'm like, okay, what it is that I could allow to be in my circle, or even be in my immediate circle as well, because it's either what you allowed is adding value or it's taking away value. So because that's just how it works, and it works the same for people. People in your circle is either adding value or taking value away from you. And there's a fact that says you make about $4,000 to $5,000 a year, just between your closest friends. So for me, I'm always talking about money with my friends because it's very important. One of those things that tends to go unnoticed, but should be talked about. Like, you know, like you check in with a friend on, you know, how you doing today, socially or emotionally or work-wise, you know, money-wise, you know, how are you doing money-wise? What can we, more importantly, what I talk to my friends about is what can we build together? How can we make money together? Because money is freedom, and it allows you to do what it is you want to do. And to an extent, it gives you, or it allows you the opportunity to experience escapism in a way. So for me, with my friends and chatting with them, whether it's art or personal, it's always we try to get to the main stuff, but then the real, you know, life stuff that all adults have to deal with. We talk about that as well. But for me personally, I always try to just, you know, enlighten my friends, because it's not, when I speak about money, it's more from a design perspective. And when my friends, you know, speak about money, whatever industry they're in, it usually you know, we enlighten one another to an extent. So I always love to, the money part is not necessarily, some people might not look at it as a heart-to-heart conversation, but for me, I think it's an honest conversation, because it's a conversation that just as society, I don't know how things are in Australia, but in America, we're taught not to talk about money at all, whether or job or all of that. And so it makes it hard for you to want to, you know, open up, talk to people about things in the long run.
It can definitely be a taboo subject, but I like to try and be as open as I can, because I've seen people be all closed up about it. I'm like, oh, like, oh, this could be like, you know, like, I wasn't trying to be nosy. I just, you know,
exactly.
Knowing your worth as well. I guess in money wise, but also, I guess, because, I mean, and this is opening up a huge can of worms, but, you know, like, it is like in the school, like the school system they don't talk about money. I mean, at least they do to an extent, and if you're an awesome teacher, they might tell you about budgeting and things like that, but they don't teach you about, you know, it's a very like what's that word when you have to, a compliance, it teaches you compliance, not about you know, how to create wealth. Essentially, it's
but that's kind of my issue as well, is, but with situations like that, whether in an institution or, you know, wherever I'm at, for me, my go-to is always to connect with the people, and usually those relationships are genuine and pure, and we tend to enlighten one another and share value that necessarily the other might not have. What's your favorite color in typeface?
Oh, that was a sudden switch. I would say my favorite color is like is ocean blue. I know that's very like vague. But and my favorite typeface, honestly, I wouldn't say I have a favorite typeface, because I don't tend to actually use a lot of fonts, but I'd say actually the one I use on the Procreate app the most is I don't know how to say it, DIDOT, DIDOT. I don't know.
I think it's DIDOT.
It's
I know. I know what you're talking about. I know the font.
I mean, it's just cool. Easy. But I do like looking at your picture. I love how you wrote dollar, because it's like the one on the left.
Right. This one.
Yeah. It almost looks I'm trying to think what era, you know. It's it's not quite 70s, but it's just a bit nostalgic. I don't know why.
Hopefully it comes to you.
Yeah. Do you have one as well?
$1? Nah. Actually, so my favorite color is actually blue, but I like every color that's blue, and every shade of blue. I don't know. I think it was weird because it felt like it was like a generic guy thing. Were you showing me something?
Yeah. Which blue shade do you?
I see you trying to get me probably the butterfly that's like the second from the left, the second one. Yep. That one.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
But as far as blue, as far as blue, just I just like just like the color in terms of what it is and what it means, what it represents. I think blue is like trust, reliability, balance, and all of that. But yeah, just in terms of what the color is emotionally, how it makes me feel.
Yeah.
But I like every shade of blue. I just painted the wall, one side of my wall, dark blue actually. Right, like.
Oh really?
Yeah.
That's cool. I haven't painted my wall up here, but my wall back in Melbourne, where my family lives, is like an aqua blue.
Awesome.
It's more of an ocean blue. Yeah.
Awesome.
But I wanted to quickly comment as well about what you're saying with talking about your friends. Is that okay? Going back.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah.
The reason why the show is emotionally everywhere is because of interest and as a person, as a creative. I'm thinking of creatives listening to this tend to get bored a lot. So in terms of where the chart is and all of that, you got to be all over it.
No. I think it's so important to talk with your friends about money because we're all raised so differently. And it's good to hear other people's values about it. Because some people think it's normal to, I don't know, get a personal loan out to keep up your lifestyle. And, some people, it's normal to put away like 80% of their in savings but yeah, I think it's so essential to have, friends around you that you aspire to also be like, because, that quote that says, show me your friends and I'll show you your future. Like I can't agree with that more, just even from the past few years. Different people in and out of your life and you realize, wow, like you really do become like the people that you hang out with without even trying. You start to laugh like them.
It's funny that you said that. Show me your friends and I'll show you your future. When I was a kid, just being me and just getting in trouble, my grandmother always used to tell me to be really selective with my friends, and what she used to say was, show me your friends and I'll tell you your character. And that
wow,
really